And we're back here on another episode of Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I know you don't like how I say that, Rob. I'm sorry.
Formerly of NSYNC.
Yes, yes. We are so thankful to be on the Podcast Radio Network every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. So thankful to be on the air, and want to give a shout out to everyone out there. Thank you so much for making us now in the number 13 on the latest rankings, going up in the universe, well over 8,000 listeners. So we truly, truly appreciate you listening to us there. You can also check us out on the Tangent Bound Network, a great network indeed. That's the Tangent Bound Network. The ESO Network, which I recently was a part of on their ESO podcast, so check it out. That one dealt with the Geek Holiday Gift Guide, and I had some great ideas, including one that these guys are familiar with that they appeared in. So you might want to check out that podcast and suggestions that I had. Next, also, pardon? Yes, is actually no, not that one. That one actually was suggested, but I suggested an actual as a great holiday gift. Under $20. Excuse me, under $20. A great holiday gift is a DVD of a certain movie, which was one of the best documentary films of 2015, and also
the only thing better is a Blu-ray version.
Even better is the Blu-ray version. Much better,
better.
Sharper, crisper picture that is available. But
and
we will.
The Blu-ray is the only one with bonus features too.
There you go, indeed. But we will delve into that here in a little bit.
For everyone that can't wait, go to NintendoQuest.com.
There you go.
We may have a special promo code for you that you get to save 20% on if you keep listening to the show.
Awesome. We truly appreciate it. And the shilling has now begun officially because we're also on the Gonna Geek Network. That's our latest network we joined up with. We are truly, truly thankful to Stephen for allowing us to come on the Gonna Geek Network. And if you can't catch us on any one of those networks for any reason, we are always available to be downloaded at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, podcast.com, and of course our home site. Check it out with all the other great articles we have, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So we're today talking, just like our last episode, we're talking one of the biggest episodes as far as from one of the biggest movies of the year is coming out soon. That's Star Wars Rogue One. And who better to talk about Star Wars Rogue One than two of my awesome friends and two guys that are very familiar with the Star Wars universe. I'm going to start with the super fan himself.
I don't have much to say on it, but...
when he tells you he doesn't have much to say, that means he has much to say. So don't listen to that.
What's funny, Gerald, is that Rob gets tagged in almost every Star Wars post that people put on my Facebook. And it's funny because Rob Star Wars, but I don't think he wants to be tagged in every single little Han Solo refrigerator link and all that kind of stuff,
Well, that's what happens when you two are best friends, and then actually.
But the thing is, Jay doesn't get tagged in any of the He-Man stuff that comes out, so it's a one-way street of I don't know, curses
or DuckTales or anything of that nature. Yeah, I hear you on that.
That's true. That's true.
But first off, I want to talk to. We're talking right here with Jay Bartlett. He's one of the leading cosplayers in Star Wars for all the entire great country of Canada. He was mentioned in the most recent ESPN the Magazine article. You want to check it out. It's a great article in regards to collecting and also one of the biggest prizes in all of video games, the stadium events and the fervor around surrounding that particular game. And then also he is a member of the GNR tribute band Rocket Queen. He is host of the Galaxy Far, Far Away podcast and also one of the mentors of the Galaxy Far, Far Away Facebook page, which you should go ahead and check out. They've got a lot of great stuff geared towards Star Wars fans. He is Mr. Jay Bartlett. How are you, my friend?
Oh, thanks for having me again. I always love being on your show. Big time. I find that the time flies really quickly, so let's do a double episode or something.
Fair enough indeed. I appreciate it. And when you're talking about Jay, he was actually the main subject in a film that was directed by our next guest, and also one of my good friends as well. Well, you hear what I plug for him every single week because he is, Rob McCallum Films is such a part of the pop culture cosmos scene. But he's the man, the myth, the legend, the director of Nintendo Quest, the documentary on the Canadian rock group Kitty, also the He-Man documentary involved with that as well, Box Art, the docuseries, the award-winning Missing Mom. He's the man, the myth, the legend again, the director of Nintendo Quest, Rob McCallum.
The best thing about coming on the PCC, Pop Culture Cosmos, are the intros for the guests that they get. They're far and above better than any other shows that Jay and I have been on. No offense.
Yeah, I feel like I've accomplished so much in my entire life. And really
I feel like we got to end on a high note. So thanks, everyone. It's been great.
Exactly. Show's over, but I appreciate so much everybody that comes on. I try to go out of my way to make sure that people know out there where can they find all their work and the great things that they're all about. And you guys have been so intertwined with what Game Source and particularly Pop Culture Cosmos is now doing. We just truly appreciate here what both you guys have contributed, and there's a lot of great stuff out there that people need to know about, and Nintendo Quest is obviously one of them. So, Rob, just great to have you guys on the show. But for now, we'll table that discussion on Nintendo Quest and all the other great stuff that you guys need to shill here in a second.
So Rob McCallum Films, NintendoQuest.com. You can check it out. We'll get back to it though. But that's where you go to get your hands on all the goodies, the entertainment.
Yes, indeed. But we're talking Star Wars Rogue One right now. It's coming out here in just a few days. The countdown has begun. We are eagerly anticipating, well, at least some of us anyways, are eagerly anticipating the film. Jay, I want to start with you. Your thoughts as probably the biggest Star Wars fan that I know of on the planet. Exactly, as far as your feeling on Star Wars Rogue One, your expectations first off initially, since there's so many trailers out there and there's so much footage out there and so much speculation on what the movie's all about.
Okay, where do I start? I remember when the first trailer popped up, I had a million messages when I woke up that morning, and I watched it, and I only watched it once that day. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So my initial reaction wasn't nearly the same as when I first saw the Phantom Menace trailer or when I first saw the Force Awakens teaser, where I was just crying like a little baby and just like drooling all over myself. I think this one has a very different flavor, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. We've been starved for Star Wars for so long. Disney's plan is to have at least one a year, and I'm all for that. It looks gritty. It looks like a war film, definitely. It looks like a war drama. Even the characters, Chirrut Imwe, like Baz Malbus, like these names just roll off your tongue, don't they? No. But they kind of almost look like they belong to Terminator Salvation. Like they look very beat up, very war-torn. Even the protagonist, Jyn Erso, looks... Rey looks cleaner than her. Like they all look very worn out, very wartime. I'm interested to see. I do have my concerns. I do, but I'm going in with an open mind.
Well, that's good. I think of it sort of. The look to me has been very gritty. I think that's probably the biggest word that's been, or the word that's been most attached to the film as far as upcoming and from the spots and whatnot. People have, and I think that's apropos because I think the film itself looks very, very gritty and very different from what many have come used to in the Star Wars universe. Rob,
yeah,
what are your? Oh, go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just gonna say before Rob goes. The first thing I noticed is there wasn't really a character that spoke to me. There wasn't really a certain character that drew me, and of course, Jyn is cool, like she's the hero and all that stuff, but. All the other guys are kind of, there's the blind guy, Chirrut, he's pretty cool. Baz Malbus is the big hulking tank guy.
Donnie Yen.
I can't even remember the droid's name, the Imperial droid that's like Chewbacca, but he's a droid. I can't remember his character's name. But
super fan, huh?
They look good, but there wasn't one character like when I first saw, that first shot of Kylo Ren. You don't even see him; you just see his back, and I was like, "Whoa, like that's pretty cool." So anyway, sorry, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob. No problem.
I don't think that gritty is the right word, because when I hear gritty in terms of movies nowadays, that's kind of what people lump in with what Warner Brothers is trying to do with the DC universe. It's a gritty take on Superman. It's a gritty take on Batman. There's no color in Wonder Woman. It's gritty. It's somber. I would say Rogue One has a more worn feel. Like, it's all worn out. There's nothing new. They're dependent on recycling. It's dirty. And I love it for that, because it looks a lot like New Hope, where everything isn't shiny and plastic like the Star Trek films, right? These people that are going around the galaxy are using every last credit they have to buy whatever ship or accessories that they can possibly afford. And it's probably all secondhand junk from the upper class that they found or bargained or won their way into getting something else. And there's just a lot of history that you can see visually. So it feels like a world that has a history to it versus something that's brand new and plasticky. I'm a huge fan of like the suicide mission groups. I'm a huge in terms of storylines in heist films, and this seems to fit right into where that's going. So I think one of the reasons, Jay, why like a main character doesn't really stick out, other than more shots of Jin, is because it's gonna be more of an ensemble piece, which is why you see so many lines from other people. You're gonna get to know like probably a group of 5 or 6 characters. They're going to try to make you care about them all in different ways. You're going to make me be the second lead when we talk about stuff in cosplay, so that you can be the main character. But everybody's going to love basically the whole ensemble approach.
I'm not going to be Jin.
You got the
yeah, I would agree
it.
with you there. And I think, you know what, we're going to come out of the theater. I'm going to be like, Chirrut's my favorite, or Baz is just amazing, or whoever. Jin was
everyone's favorite Rogue One character.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with it being different. I guess they're called the saga films now, or the episode films now, are obviously going to be bigger, and they still focus around the Skywalker family. So for me, yeah, I mean, it's the first time really that there's no Luke or Han or Obi-Wan, or there's nobody that we know. It's just pure, I mean, except Vader, of course, but there's
Except
no...
for him.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, as far as good guys go,
Sure.
there's no, like, the end of the second trailer of The Force Awakens, when man and woman in the world cried when they saw Han Solo again. It was just insane. There was nothing like that in Rogue One. But again, I can't stress that enough. That's not a bad thing. It's just different.
You mentioned something, Jay, that bothers me, and I don't think you meant it the same way, but maybe you did. It's like, you have concerns for the film. Why does anybody have concerns over a movie? Like, it's like you said, it's more Star Wars. It's a little bit different. It might not be something that we're used to. But why do we see these fanboys and fangirls online, like, just crapping on it already without seeing a single frame, because it isn't what they've been served up? Like, I think in 10 years, we're going to look back and say, I'm so glad they started to make different stories in the Star Wars universe that wasn't, 60 Jedis fighting 60 Siths and some sort of arena deathmatch thing that, frankly, I'm a little Force sensitive right now. I feel like we've got way too much magic happening in the Star Wars universe. So I'm excited for something different. And I don't think people should be concerned.
I just be concerned because it's only the second film that is not George's.
Okay.
And Star Wars is George Lucas's baby. No matter what he says now, or he's trying to hide that he doesn't care, but that we all know that's bullcrap. Of course he cares. And he actually saw a screening of it, and he said he really liked it, so that's good. But concerns that way. So the first time I dealt with it, it was J.J. Abrams, and it wasn't George Lucas. So trying to get my head around that was crazy. But it's okay, because you got Luke and Han and Leia. That's okay. Now you don't have any of that, and you don't have George. So it's just, like, I'm nervous, but it's a good nervous. Concerned because I've invested so much of my life into this franchise and so much of my spare time into this franchise. So I would hate to see it go down the road. Like, Rob, we always talk about Transformers. We both love that series and how absolutely insane that timeline is. And you can't What's the origin of Optimus Prime? I don't know. Which Optimus Prime? Do you know what I mean?
But I think the major difference is Star Wars and Lucasfilm is never going to be sold to anybody else because it's a money printing press. And two, look at what Disney has done with the Marvel universe. They've gone to painstaking lengths to make sure that there is continuity across a series of films, and they've proven it. Had this come before the Marvel acquisition, I would have been like, what is Disney really going to do, and how are they really going to tie in all these like loose threads, these saga films, and these one-off tangents? I would be a little bit more concerned, but given what they do with the Marvel stuff, I'm not concerned about it not fitting in. I think that the Disney stuff will always feel separate. You'll always have the purists and the traditionalists say that, no, there's the original trilogy as one thing, and then there's the Disney stuff as another, and some people will choose or not choose to accept the prequels for whatever reason that they choose to, accept. But I always think the original trilogy is going to be separate.
There'll be people like that, absolutely. But for me, myself, Episode 7 belongs right beside Episode 6. And
I gotta go. I'm out of here.
all the people that said that Episode 7 was a remake, I think, is just laughable. I mean, that's another whole other podcast. But you would think, not to hijack the MC here, but I want to know what you think about Rogue One, because I know you're a Star Wars fan as well, obviously.
Well, as far as Rogue One is concerned, I've told people from the beginning the expectations should not be at the same level of SWFA. Okay,
why?
Because as far as from it's not within that Star Wars main timeline universe. I think as far as from a movie's critical standpoint, yeah, of course, the expectation is you want to go see a great film set in a somewhat familiar universe. But as far as from a financial standpoint, I've said
that's different because it's Force Awakens, of course, is the first film in X number of years where we've had nothing, so it's obviously going to hit a little bit bigger. Financials, yes,
and I've from
budget wise, the episodes will always be bigger than the side stories.
But from a promotional and from what consumer base understands and is familiar with, like I said, if it does half of what The Force Awakens does, I think Disney should think of it as a win. If it does exceed Civil War as the top movie of 2016, eventually when it finishes its run, I think that Disney should consider it a definite win and continue to go ahead and build more of those stories in those alternate timelines, as far as it's concerned, alternate universes, and should continue those once a year as Star Wars films, because obviously they have a plan going to have, Marvel, like you said, with their acquisition of Marvel, they've proven that they've done very well in how they perceive and how they want to package Marvel to a wider audience, and they've done the same thing now, and they're starting to begin to do the same thing now with Star Wars and make it accessible. But it's not going to be their intention is not really to make it as inviting for us at guys our age or people our age. They're trying to target even younger audiences so they can build that for 20, 30 years down the line, and so on, because their end goal is to have Star Wars be one of the pillars and founding blocks for Disney for the next 100 years.
I think it honestly is going to ring more critically acclaimed than The Force Awakens, which was an interesting, wave. Everybody loved it at first, and then there was this big pause, and then everybody started dumping on The Force Awakens, and critics were either clearly on one or two sides. I think this, because it is a standalone film, it doesn't have any sequels lined up. The sequel's A New Hope. They've come out right and say there is no scroll at the beginning. It is very much a separate film. I think because they're not trying to world build with this entry and these characters.
It is a one-off.
They have a much better chance at delivering a sound, complete story within the 2 hours or whatever the runtime is.
What it gets interesting is when they start delving into the Han Solo film. Do they go ahead and build more films in that sense? They've talked about obviously doing Obi-Wan Kenobi films back with Ian McGregor coming back to the role. They've talked about building at least one or two films there. So that's where to me it really gets interesting.
Can I be the millionth guy that has said this? I don't mind stuff like Rogue One, but don't give me origin stories on characters I already care about. You're not going to make me care about them more with a film that centers around them.
Don't give me origin stories on Han Solo when half the appeal of Han Solo is not knowing where he came from. I don't need to know why he became a smuggler and why Chewbacca...
I don't need to see him win the Millennium Falcon from Lando. I don't need to see him, do the Kessel Run. I don't need to see all these little things. They're
but that's
much
what they're going to show you. But I think,
don't need to see it.
But I think when it comes down to is people, it's the person who's actually playing the role. I think it's more Harrison Ford that has made Han Solo, so I have great concerns down the road as far as how
I'll play the James Bond card. The actor won't matter as long as the script and everything is good. Sure, that is definitely a Harrison Ford role, and it sucks that there might be only one film with a different actor. But I mean, we've seen a lot of different Bond films be successful for varying reasons with a lot of different actors in that role.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
But again, Rob, this is the first time where we always talk about timelines in the franchises that we love, and Star Wars has not been touched. And now it's kind of like, okay, now we're going to do a Han story. Now we're going to do Obi-Wan story. It's like, okay, so you're going to do an Obi-Wan origin, then you're going to have to get someone to play Qui-Gon, then you're going to have to get someone to play Mace Windu, blah, blah, blah. And it's just...
I don't mind Obi-Wan films as long as they're not origin stories. I would
much rather see... like something after episode 7. Like, why not something after episode 7? Something that we don't know the ending to. It's like we know how Obi-Wan, we know where Obi-Wan ends. We know where Han Solo ends.
But Jay, we know where Titanic ends, and that made over $2 billion.
No, it's going to make money regardless. But do I need to see Han's origin? Absolutely not.
But then Avatar has made, almost $3 billion, but it does not hold and has not held the same cultural footprint that say, the Star Wars films and Marvel films and so much more have.
I think that Avatar it's an interesting thing because there's 3 more films coming out. When Avatar first hit in 2009, late 2008, early 2009, it was right on the actual acceptance of 3D and IMAX 3D. And there was so much computer animation that was done in that at an extent that we hadn't seen before. So I would, probably kind of proclaim that a good chunk of the budget that they made was because of 3D technology and the rollout of more and more IMAX screens. It still had a long theatrical run, mind you. It wasn't like the standard 3 to 4 weeks. I think it played for like 2 or 3 months, but still. I think a lot of that is just advancements in technology, and I think that's why the cultural footprint hasn't resonated, because it's a story we've heard and seen before that ties to other cultures that have arguably done it better before in the past.
Let me ask you guys this, and again, without us obviously having seen Rogue One, I've managed to stay away from most of the TV spots, and I've only seen the 2 trailers. But the most recent one I saw, they did actually show an out of focus back of the head shot of Tarkin. Interesting. Obviously, Peter Cushing is no longer with us, but again, now Tarkin's in there, and we've seen Darth Vader a number of different times, and then there's whoever is in that bacta tank with the Royal Guards, right? I guess I'm just saying, it's like, do we need to see Tarkin? Do we need to see Vader? Like, why is Vader there?
Well, that's something I want to touch on our next week episode when I talk to you guys, as far as not only that, but also as well, I want to touch on some other subjects within the Star Wars universe. But first, I know before we go ahead and start, mentioning even more about that, I know, Rob, that you had some things you want to talk about when it comes to robmccallumfilms.com, and Jay also was you as well with the Galaxy Far, Far Away.
Well, it's just a great time of the season with the holidays coming up to go to nintendoquest.com, which will redirect you to robmccallumfilms.com. You can pick up a copy of Nintendo Quest on DVD or Blu-ray or digital if you like. If you choose to get those films on physical disc, the Blu-ray, which comes as a 3-disc set, has all the bonus features, or even the Power Tour on Blu-ray and on DVD, which comes with an extra episode, you can get 20% off your order. And right now you can do that by entering promo code NQ 20%. So that's N as in Nintendo, Q as in Quest, the number 20, and the word percent. You put that in at your order, and you'll be good. It expires at the end of January, so if you catch up later on this, then you can check that out. And it's in effect as of now. So 20% off on your order. Maybe do a big order pool with friends so you get more money off and save on shipping and make it happen. It's been a really good reception lately. It just got released in Germany, which is really cool.
And I did want to say what a great holiday gift that was. That's why I mentioned it's one of the top 5 holiday gifts from when I was on the ESO Holiday Gift podcast. I also want to mention that you've got a awesome movie that is now circulating through the film festivals. Tell me a little bit more about Missing Mom.
Well, Missing Mom continues, it seems, monthly to be in different festivals. Last month, we were in our hometown of London, Ontario, Canada, where we picked up Best Documentary Honors, which was really cool to be there in person for that one. And just last week, I was able to use Google Translate to discover that it had been accepted to the Kiev International Film Festival in the Ukraine, which plays next week. So if I could afford a ticket to Ukraine, I would have gone there for Christmas. But we're very fortunate and blessed that so many people around the world are responding to this on the festival circuit, and we've been again lucky to have a lot of accolades thrown at us for this super universal tale about my brother and I hitting the road trying to find out what happened to our mom, who's been missing for 25 years.
Oh, that's awesome, and I said I've seen the film. There's a review that's now available on both Nintendo Quest and Missing Mom. It's available on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, although I can tell you they're really good. But, that being said, there's one more thing I want to mention, along with, like I said, the documentary for the Canadian rock group Kitty, the He-Man documentary that you're involved in, Box Arc, the docuseries, which I know whenever I'm at Retro City Games with Douglas Hoyabu and also as well Nicole Galgazian, they always are so, glad that they're a part of it as well with doing it with you. I want to talk about The Trenches, which is something that is now also can be had and also can be seen and heard on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Tell me a little bit more about that particular podcast that you do.
Well, you're making me feel a little guilty and tardy here because I haven't done an episode in a while, but I think we have almost 20 episodes or maybe
20 plus, I think.
Yeah, somewhere like that. And essentially I sit down for an unedited conversation with different people that work full-time in a creative industry. A lot of the first season, which is about 13 episodes, is all filmmakers, actors, producers, sound engineers, musicians, people that work really with their craft going to the filmmaking side of stuff. And then for season 2, I've expanded it to people that create action figures, people that are songwriters, people that work in the video game industry. So it's diverse, but it's interesting to hear people's story, how they grew up and what kind of early seeds were planted for them to decide to go into the creative side of making entertainment, and then what that journey has been like and where they are now and where they want to go. So most of them are an hour and they're all kind of unedited, just whatever happens. We don't know where these things go, and that's half the fun. So you can check that out on iTunes, of course, and here on the PCC, the Pop Culture Podcast.
Like I said, it is great indeed. I've listened to quite a few myself. I've actually sampled some on the PCC. And
illegal downloads?
There you go. Absolutely. No, they are actually. I've got strict cooperational effort with the head podcaster on that. So, and speaking of podcasting, I've got one for Jay. As two actually, we talked about earlier with Jay, the Galaxy Far Far Away podcast that he does. Tell me a little bit more about that. And another podcast that's also available on the popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, which is called A Gamercast with Jay, Rob, and Glenn, which you guys do every month. That's available on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com.
Yeah, so Gamercast is something that, we've done for 355,000 years now. Since the beginning of the first video game, Mario Brothers 2. No, we've done it forever, and it was used as a promotional tool for Nintendo Quest. And then once Nintendo Quest was released, of course, we still love talking games. So it's something we do each month now. We used to do it weekly, which was very tough. So we needed a break, and now we're back, baby, each month, and just talking about classic NES, about Pokemon Go, about whatever's cool in that month.
And that's available on Podbean, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and the Galaxy Far, Far Away, again, for personal reasons, Josh and I have had to step back for a couple months, but we're getting back into it. You once every 2 weeks, and you know what? That show is just all nostalgia. I write an outline, and Josh and I start talking about whatever Rogue One trailer, whatever, and it always goes back to, hey man, remember when you went to consumers and you got your first like Luke Skywalker figure, and it always turns into that. So if you guys love Star Wars and nostalgia, check it out. You'll love it. Josh's voice is much better than mine too.
Fair enough. Well, it's great having you guys on this episode. I'm hoping you guys will come back to next week's podcast to talk some more Star Wars Rogue One. The film will be out then when that airs, but it's been great having you on right now. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, anytime, dude. I told you a year ago, man, I'll be on your show any old day of the week. And I just want to say to everyone from Rob and I, thank you. Continuous support on Nintendo Quest. I get messages daily still, and I appreciate it. All the kind words, and thanks to ESPN for having me on in their magazine too regarding stadium events. That was really a lot of fun.
That was really cool indeed. So check it out. ESPN, the magazine, the latest episode to find out exactly what Jay Bartlett has said. So you have to check that out indeed. But that's going to do it for us on this episode. But again, check out the guys. We're going to talk more Star Wars Rogue One on next week's episode. When we come back, all right, thanks, guys. We're going to be doing a little bit more here in a sec. So 3. And we're back here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos.
You got to play with that pause. On
Yes.
the Pop...
Well, I was seeing what your reaction would be.
Culture Cosmos Podcast.
Yes, the Pop Culture Cosmos Podcast. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. Want to thank you again for listening to us. We appreciate everyone out there that listens and watches us on the various networks that we're on, the Podcast Radio Network, the Tangent Bound Network, the ESO Network, the Gonna Geek Network, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podcast.com, and, of course, our home site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. I also want to give a big shout out to everyone that helps us create the show and creates the whole Pop Culture Cosmos universe, starting with our good friends Douglas and Nicole at Retro City Games. In fact, you can see actual video episodes of the Pop Culture Cosmos that are available on their Facebook page, Retro City Games, and give them a big like, because you'll be glad that you did, because they get a ton of stuff in regards to retro gaming, because they are the leaders in video games here in Southern Nevada. Also want to give a big shout out to Wine, Women, and Words. Check out their podcast on the literary world in and on YouTube, and also podcast.com and Google Play. Game Source on Facebook and Twitter. Check it out. They're the leaders as far as news and information in the video gaming world. My good friend Josh Peterson, the director of the Ghost Toaster Saga and author of Vendetta Dark, which you can get today on Amazon. And Mario Party Wars. Mario Party Wars on Facebook. Those crazy kids wreaking havoc on UNLV as only they can. You want to check out everything that they're doing for their Twitch, also Mario Party, board gaming, and also their Twitch and YouTube streams. So we are back with the guys in regarding the talk about Star Wars Rogue One. And Star Wars Rogue One is now available in all theaters. Everybody's checking out. Everybody's going gaga over it. It's awesome. We have not seen it as of yet, but who better to talk about Star Wars Rogue One than two people who are very knowledgeable about the series. And in fact, one of the guys is actually the biggest fan I know in the Star Wars universe, and the other is actually an acclaimed director of many features, including Unearthly, which you can get today on eBay for $50.
Or there's a $50 link for a used copy of Unearthly, and the only review that was up there when I checked earlier was 1 star. I want my money back. I love it. If you don't know what Unearthly is, it's the ultimate Canadian B movie. The script required $400 million to make. It's like Indiana Jones meets Jurassic Park. But we didn't have $400 million. We only had a few thousand. So check out this delightful, campy B-movie romp. You can rent it or buy it digitally for $1 or $2. So the price is right. You can check out and see what all the fuss is about. And don't forget, if you go to robmccallumfilms.com, not only links for Unearthly, you can go check out Nintendo Quest, and using promo code NQ20% to save 20% off your order of Nintendo Quest or Nintendo Quest Power Tour, the series follow-up to Nintendo Quest.
I haven't even introduced him, and already he started chilling. He is awesome. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the director of Nintendo Quest, also as well Missing Mom, the award-winning film Missing Mom, the Kitty documentary, documenting the Canadian hard rock group, the He-Man documentary, also Box Art, the docuseries. Of course, he's already said it, robmccallumfilms.com. It's Rob McCallum.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on another segment. This is great. And it's funny because you're mentioning all these credits, and finally I can say everything is in post-production. I'm not shooting a single thing anymore. We wrapped production on Box Art last month. I've seen the first rough assembly of the He-Man documentary now. Kitty is cut, and we're just talking with distributors. Missing Mom, of course, is just playing the festival circuit. It's really nice not to have to travel as much in the foreseeable coming months.
Yeah, because you always, if you ever follow Rob McCallum on Facebook, it's Rob McCallum's traveling here, Rob McCallum's traveling there, Rob McCallum's traveling here, earning those frequent flyer miles indeed.
I'm taking a vacation from my problems, Gerald.
There you go. Fair enough indeed. I don't even know what to say to that, but that's
a quote from What About Bob?
That exactly. That left me speechless. But with Rob McCallum, he directed again one of the biggest documentary hits of the past few years, Nintendo Quest, which you can get with the promo code that he just told you for an awesome Blu-ray with a whole bunch of extended features on it.
I'm gonna jump in there for 1 second. If you have Amazon Prime, go watch Nintendo Quest. It won't cost you anything there. And when you love it, and I really hope you love it, go to NintendoQuest.com, which will redirect you to RobMcCallumFilms.com, and buy the Blu-ray and get 20% off. So you can see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, uncut interviews, deleted scenes that never made the documentary. So watch the film for free. That price you can't beat on Amazon Prime. And then get the Blu-ray. NQ 20%.
Fair enough indeed, because the subject of Nintendo Quest is also here today. The man who was tasked with finding the entire library of the Nintendo Entertainment System in 30 days. The challenge was laid down by his best friend, who happened to be the director, Rob McCallum. That man is here, and he's also mentioned in the ESPN, the magazine, the recent edition, as far as stadium events. He is a well-known man indeed in regards to all of his cosplay with Star Wars, also as well his GNR tribute band, Rocket Queen, and he's also doing the Gamercast with J. Rob and Glenn. He's also doing the Galaxy Far, Far Away podcast and managing the Galaxy Far, Far Away Facebook site. My gosh, he's doing just as much as Rob. He's Jay Bartlett. How are you, my friend?
I'll do way more than that guy is. I'm good, dude. Thanks again for having
me. Competition. Gerald, I'd like to announce my next 3 projects. None of which will include Jay.
I just wanted to mention these. This is Jay. This is the Rob section. This is the Jay section. This is the Rob section running down the list.
Okay, everything that we do together has to be disqualified for the true competition.
Fair enough. Fair enough indeed. But Jay and Rob, it's great to have you guys
Jay
on
Bartlett,
again.
Better known as Player One, or he's not playing and he's going home.
Oh, thanks, dude, for having me again. I love it.
You're welcome.
Well, we're talking Star Wars Rogue One. It is now out in the wild. It is obviously, amassing huge box office numbers. We, at this point in time, have not yet seen the film, but we wanted to make sure we got word out there as far as some advanced thoughts that we have. If you did get a chance to check out our last podcast on Pop Culture Cosmos, where we talked about some of our hopes and expectations and the timeline in regards to that, check it out because it's a great conversation. And this one's going to be just as good because we're going to deal with a little bit about the Star Wars Rogue One. We mentioned brief things about it, but Jay, I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the possible Star Wars references, some of the possible Star Wars characters that are going to be in it. We obviously know
I got to jump in here for a second to clarify something for everyone, Gerald. We have not seen Rogue One yet, but this is being recorded in advance because, of course, two huge Star Wars fans like Jay and myself, and yourself included, will be there opening night. But this is more kind of speculation before it happens, so you can listen back to what you thought after the fact and hear what we thought before we saw it again. So this is kind of fun because everybody listening has seen it now, probably, at least most of them.
Yes.
And they can hear what our predictions are going in and what we think, and hopefully, what we hope it is as well. So sorry to cut you off, but you can't have super mega fans like us not seeing it opening day or opening weekend.
No, because and I, like I said, we're all going to be there opening weekend. But as you listen to this, like you said, everybody out there has probably seen it already, or is just about ready to planning to be seeing it.
So when they're listening to this, they're technically better than us because we haven't seen it yet, and they are.
Yeah.
Indeed. So Jay, your thoughts as far as the whole timeline that Rogue One is being set into? Obviously, Darth Vader is going to be a part of it. Right there, Darth Vader. But you also mentioned another name as far as that fans may be familiar with on last week's episode. Any sense? Let's since we are here in Vegas for the most part. Any bets on who else might show up within this movie?
And Palpatine, 100%. The Red Royal Guards only follow Sheev Palpatine. That is the lore of Star Wars. That is canon.
Well, wait for that to get broken.
So the Crimson Guard only follows Palpatine. Is that what you're saying?
Those are Palpatine's hand-trained, hand-picked guards, and they guard Palpatine. They don't guard anyone else. So there's that long shot when you see the bacta tank with the two guards, and it's got to be what I think is. You follow Star Wars, Vader in Star Wars Rebels, which takes place before Rogue One. Still, he can take on Kanan and Ezra, and he's kind of not jumping around, but he's moving pretty quick. And of course, in A New Hope, Vader doesn't move so nice. So what's going to happen, I think, is the story is Vader's going to get decimated somehow, almost left for dead, and you're going to see Darth Vader actually in the bacta tank. And he's going to get another body rebuilt, more Frankensteinish, even more than it was before. And that's where you're going to see the more cumbersome Vader who can't jump around and stuff like that. That's what I think is going to happen. And I only say that because of the lore. The guards don't follow anyone else but Palpatine. So
very interesting indeed. Rob, any speculation on who you might think shows up in the universe?
I don't think that Disney can resist putting a well-known Jedi in there. I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like Yoda or Obi-Wan. There's that one.
Because Obi-Wan's been rumored for 8. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, there's that one clip where Jyn is told to use the Force, I think, when she's young in that most recent trailer. So who is that Jedi, and who else do they know? And are we going to see a glimpse of somebody else? Is there going to be a communique that ties to something else that's going on with maybe General Kenobi, or I don't know. I just think that Disney can't resist having an established Jedi other than Vader or Anakin.
They also just revealed Bail Organa, so Jimmy Smits is in it. So that could tie to Leia and Luke. Who knows? Which leads me to believe that I would say Obi-Wan is probably the best bet for that, because Obi-Wan shows up. The beginning of season 2 of the Clone Wars, or is it season 1? Maybe it's right off the bat. But anyway, Obi-Wan shows up.
Do you think they need to? Now, my question is, do you think they need to put all these familiar faces in there? Because you said, Rob, that Disney couldn't resist itself from doing so. But do you guys think that they actually need to put these in there? Just the Star Wars affiliation alone isn't going to get them by?
Well, they have to play it safe at the same time they're trying something new. So again, a fan, like my whole life I've been a fan, and I wasn't taken aback from the trailer the same way I was taken aback from The Force Awakens. Maybe for that reason, the familiar faces. So I don't know. I think hopefully they put Vader in there. It serves the story. Tarkin's in there, obviously, because he runs the Death Star, but I just hope whoever they put in there, being Obi-Wan or Yoda or whoever, it just it makes the story that much better.
Rob?
I hope that they can resist. I mean, they don't need. If
But
they're going to say,
do you think they need to?
no, I don't think they need to. If they're going to say that this is going to be a standalone film without sequels, I get why they would want to sew in the story and the narrative to other things a little bit more. But they've already got Vader. They've already got the Death Star. Like, do you need any more iconography or characters, especially when you're already trying to establish other characters? Like, and what is introducing existing Jedis or characters really going to do except for get us to want Rogue 2?
Is there a fear that these characters that we've become so familiar with may crowd in and actually at some point may even bleed in too much within the film to maybe people get distracted by it?
Dude, that was done years ago in '97 when Lucas did the special editions, and there's that scene with Jabba the Hutt, and Boba Fett stops and looks into the camera.
Yeah.
That is the most ridiculous thing in all of Star Wars, in my opinion. There was no, you could have had Boba Fett in the background or walk by. I would have been fine with that. What's that? Robbie breaks the third wall. Is that what that's called? When he sits there and looks at the fourth wall. It's like, come on, man, you don't need that.
But are you afraid that Star Wars Rogue One may have too much? I don't want to say. I guess maybe saying interference from these familiar characters that may bleed too much in the story, because the next thing I'm going to ask you guys, as far as the original the characters within the movie themselves and what interest you have in them. So are you worried about that? Like Jay, you said no, but Rob, because I have concerns that as much as I love the characters within Star Wars universe, it may take away from the original Star Wars Rogue One movie standing out on its own.
I just think, like, everything is great as it is. The more that they try to muddy the waters by pulling in these fan favorites, I think it kind of diminishes the fan love for things. Like Jay was saying with Boba Fett, like, what we love about him is what we've already seen. You don't need to up the ante. We don't need any more salt and pepper on this, this meal that we're getting. It already tastes good. Don't over-season things.
And they've put Darth Vader in Rebels a lot. Bill Jones, and that's amazing and all that stuff. It's great. But yeah, it's like, I think Vader in this one will be like he is in Rebels. He'll have a cameo here and there. But it's obviously, Director Krennic is going to be the main villain, right? Because it's not a Sith versus Jedi.
Well, that leads me. That leads me into my next question I have for you guys. Who is the character that you're most interested in learning more about within the Rogue One movie? For me, it's Mads Mikkelsen's character, because he is right now one of the hottest actors on the planet. But and a lot of the stuff he does is very well done. Doctor Strange aside, because he wasn't really given as much to do there. But I'm very interested in seeing his character and how it played out. But Jay, your thoughts on the character you're most interested in understanding a little bit more of in Star Wars Rogue One?
Out of all of them that I'm drawn to, it's Chirrut Imwe, and I don't know his actor's name. I apologize. Donnie Yen, is that it?
Here, I'm gonna Google it quick while you talk about it.
I think so, but I'm not 100%. I know Donnie Yen's in the movie, but I forget which character.
The Force-sensitive character who's blind, who uses the staff. He's the one I'm most interested in.
That's who it is.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Forrest Whitaker's character, Forrest Whitaker plays Saw Gerrera, and I'm really interested in that because Saw Gerrera appeared in a couple of episodes in the Clone Wars in Season 5. So he's a character that's already been introduced. So I think that is really cool that you're seeing from the Clone Wars brought into a live-action film. So those two I'm most interested in.
Rob, did you have any thoughts on the character that you're most interested in learning more about in Star Wars?
This almost kind of ties in back to the last topic. I want to see what they're going to do with Vader, and it's not. It feels like what I'm saying sounds like it's coming from a place of concern, but I just want to see how they tiptoe with what's been established, and can they actually add to it without mucking it up. Given that there is Star Wars Rebels and they've introduced Vader there, like it's just such a character. Like, why? I mean, I honestly I hope they do like a Force Awakens thing where you just see him at the end. like just kind of on the bridge of the Death Star.
The thing is, man, it's the Lucas syndrome, like they did with Boba Fett. I have no doubt in my mind that Jango Fett was put into that movie because fans for years have wanted to see Boba Fett use his jetpack, use his flamethrower, blah blah blah. Get to do that, so he made Jango Fett.
Yeah.
So I think now, obviously not George, but Kathleen Kennedy and everyone saying, okay, let's put Vader in there. And let's get Vader to do a lot more, because you hear all the tales of Vader taking over the galaxy and crushing systems with an iron fist, and the 501st following him. And I think now you're going to see Vader start to do that, because you don't really see Vader do that too much in 4, 5, and 6 at all.
Well, and think about number 4, right? Like, it's only people growing up that get to watch the whole trilogy. They see how menacing that he is, but he doesn't do a ton in episode 4.
Yeah. He's after Luke, and that's about it.
Yeah, and he's like kind of like second behind Tarkin in command.
Yeah.
No, that's actually some great suggestions indeed, as far as from that perspective, and seeing how they'll develop on screen. Like I said, we have yet to see the film because this was taped before, but we wanted to let everybody know we'll be seeing it and probably having immense judgment on it. With all the different audio outlets and ways we can express ourselves. So we'll be right there in line with you when it comes to Star Wars Rogue One. One last question to ask you guys when it comes to Star Wars Rogue One. Overall, within the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars timeline, the canon now that Disney has created, and that they skewed so much of the previous stuff that was made as far as books, shows, what have you. Where ultimately do you think the Rogue One movie will fall as far as from a historical perspective, 20 years, 30 years down the line? Do you think that Rogue One will still have that same kind of charm that the other Star Wars films has, with so many, especially numbers, sorry, Jay, when I say this, 4, 5, and 6?
I think you're going to see marathons in the next 5 years that, in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, you're going to watch Rogue One, right? It's going to be jammed in there. I don't know. It really just depends. I don't know.
Because I'm kind of worried that, well, I'm not kind of worried. I shouldn't be concerned, like you were saying, Rob. But I'm kind of on the fence as far as their lasting appeal as opposed to the actual Star Wars timeline films. Rob, did you have any thoughts on this? Do you think these side movies will have and hold the same type of appeal to audiences?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and they've got to craft them so that they do have the impact, so that you can justify the marketing spend, that you can justify releasing more figures from them. It's what they always do when they're doing these world building is allude to other characters. So is it really crazy in episode 8 when we have another Death Star device or whatever it is, like we saw in episode 7, for them to allude to something in Rogue One to make it cool because it was mentioned? I mean, the Clone Wars were really cool until we saw the Clone Wars. Then it was just like, oh, well, that kind of demystifies it. So one of the ways they can make Rogue One better is the way that they did, like, in episode 7 with, like, Luke Skywalker? Like the way that Rey, like, kind of, gushes about the legend of who Luke is. Like, that just kind of re-emphasizes the whole brand. I think it's going to be great. I think of all the standalone films announced, it's the only non-origin one. So I think that'll make it standalone. I think it'll fit in the narrative more seamlessly, because the origin ones are going to be, like, 20 years before, I don't know, Rogue One, theoretically, or Revenge of the Sith, depending on the character.
Well, and it's like, too, like, how they end.
Yeah.
So it's like the prequels. Like, the prequels were,
well, do we know how this ends? I mean...
No, you don't, but I'm just saying the origin stories are like the prequels, as in, it's going to be great to see some stuff you didn't know about, but ultimately what happens to Obi-Wan. To Han Solo.
What happens to Obi-Wan?
He disappeared.
It's a magic trick.
He became more powerful than you.
Gotcha.
But it is alluded to as far as, within the scroll of a previous Star Wars film, exactly, not exactly, but what happens to many, the actual Rogue One experience is like. I mean, as far as them, obtaining the Death Star plans and whatnot. But I definitely am looking forward to it. Indeed, like I said, it's already hit theaters. It's already amassing a world box office acclaim. And I'm just not only from a critical standpoint, but also from a box office standpoint, we at Pop Culture Cosmos are keeping a keen eye on exactly how things will turn out. Like I said, people should not have the same expectations as far as from a box office standpoint from Force Awakens, and if they do, that's not exactly fair to the film itself. But if it does exceed Captain America: Civil War, then I think Disney itself should be very pleased with how it turned out, and definitely will be a good sign that people are receptive to those Star Wars spin-off movies down the road. So, guys, before we check on out of here on this segment, I want to hear a little bit more about, again, what you guys are up to. And I'm going to leave it to start off with Jay, who I know is doing a lot. Actually, like I said, it almost ran off the page for me. But, Jay, what are you up to as far as what's going on with Jay Bartlett?
This month is jam-packed with our group. We're called Echo 3, and we do a lot of charity events for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which we're very proud of. Doing a lot of hospital appearances and trying to raise funds for kids that aren't as fortunate as we have been over the years. We're doing that. Rocket Queen, my Guns N' Roses tribute band, we just wrapped up our final show of the year, so we get a little bit of a break. And man, it was a crazy year, a lot of fun. Josh and I are getting back to Galaxy Far, Far Away podcast. Again, I've had personal reasons why we've put it on hiatus for now, but we're coming back, and what a better time for Rogue One. And then there's always stuff Rob and I are doing, and you never know what's going to come out of that. So stay tuned for that. Wink, wink.
Indeed, because I know you guys always have something up your guys' sleeves. And then, well, speaking of which, Rob, I know you've got some things in the fire going on. Rob, can you tell everyone what's going on again with not only Nintendo Quest and the great deal using the promo code again, but all the great stuff you're doing with robmccallumfilms.com, which they can check out, but all the great stuff you're doing out there in all your movies.
Yeah, so go to robmccallumfilms.com to buy a copy of Nintendo Quest on DVD or Blu-ray, or the follow-up sequel series, Nintendo Quest Power Tour, 20% off, NQ20% when you check out, and you'll get 20% off your savings. That goes directly to the filmmakers, and that lets us do more stuff, like Jay alluded to. The video game based on Nintendo Quest, a game in which you will go around game hunting, is in the works too, and we are very optimistic to have it out by summer, hopefully, given everything else. Box art production is wrapped, and it's going to be nice, hopefully, over the holidays to spend a couple of days crafting the episodes. And Jay and I talked about it with Glenn on GamerCast, where that is. So check out GamerCast either on the Pop Culture Cosmos or over on iTunes, where we have the full show segments, to find out more about that series. And other than that, there's just a few projects that I'm developing that are in the same vein and pop culture related, and a few other ones that are a little bit left turns, like I can't really say, but the one documentary that is definitely on the docket that we talked about 2 months ago was the Henshin Engine documentary, which is going to be a nice 30-minute documentary on our friend Soromoro's PC Engine game. So that'll be cool to do a nice short documentary with him on how the evolution of that came to be, who he is, and why the turbo graphics and PC Engine consoles mean so much. So lots of little things happening.
Definitely, that's great indeed to look forward to that. And they can check it out today, all the great stuff you're doing on robmccallumfilms.com, and all the great stuff that you're doing, Jay, on Galaxy Far, Far Away on Facebook. Give it a like. You have amassed quite a following on that page. Just so happy for you both on all your success, all your success, if I can say that right. I'm just so happy for both of you on everything that you guys are doing, and much success to you both. And you guys are welcome back. Well, because you guys are so much an integral part of the Pop Culture Cosmos, you guys are welcome back anytime to share your thoughts.
Oh, thanks, dude. Much
Cool.
appreciated. I love you.
Same here. The love goes both ways, and just appreciate both you guys being a part of the Pop Culture Cosmos. And I want to thank you so much for joining us, talking a little bit more about Star Wars Rogue One. When we come back, all right, Appreciate it, guys. And then everybody out there that's watching this, going to be watching this on YouTube, we truly appreciate it. Thanks so much. And want to make sure that everybody, again, checks out robmccallumfilms.com, buys that great copy of Nintendo Quest with the promo code NQ20 and the word %. Check that out today. And then also follows Galaxy Far, Far Away on Facebook. Thanks for watching, everyone.